So here are ways to speed up your Bricks development workflow. Advanced Thema adds some quality of life improvements, and I'm just going to show you how it is to do it with Bricks core and the kind of quality of life improvement Advanced Thema brings to Bricks Builder. Let's start with quality of life improvement number 1. If you wanted to create a normal section, you'd go this route, click on section, then you come and expand the container, click on the add, then you add maybe your heading, your basic text, and probably a button. Gets the job done. But with advanced theme options enabled, let's go to our theme settings. So in Bricks, advanced theme, in builder tweaks, in structure panel, we're going to enable shortcut for creating new elements. Then as soon as you enable this, it gives you which element shortcut you want to show. I normally use section, container, block, div. So I've enabled what I like and I've left the ones that I rarely use. I'm going to click on save, come back to my builder, delete this, save it, then reload the page. So after reloading, you get these options here. Now, instead of coming to add, I can quickly click on my section, then it automatically expands the container. Then I can just add my heading, my basic text, and a button, all from the right hand side. This is number 1. So number 2, if you add new elements, let's say I bring in an icon and I want to move the icon to the top, the normal route will be to click and drag it like this. Then in a section, I might want to bring a container, then a heading. I make a mistake. I want to pull this heading to somewhere else. So you do this clicking and dragging. But AT has another quality of life in theme settings and a builder tweaks, structure panel. You can enable this option, move elements, click on save, reload the builder, then you could just use arrow keys left and right. So now when we right click, we have this indent left. We can use right click to send it up, right click to send it within, and that would get it there. But there's even a shorter way of doing this by coming into the theme settings and that keyboard shortcuts. Then you can use the keyboard shortcut, save it, come back, let's save it, reload the page. So now we can just use shift and arrow left to remove it outside, shift and arrow down, shift and arrow right. We can select the container, shift and arrow up, shift and arrow down to easily put elements in any place that we want. The next quality of life improvement. So this doesn't need any settings, it's baked into AT. Imagine you want 2 blocks, each with images, text, and a button. The normal Bricks route would be to give 3 blocks, 3 images, 3 basic text, then 3 buttons. Then you'd come to each and drag it. Then you know where I'm driving at. This same thing can be achieved by simply selecting the container, holding down shift, then adding a block. Then you can hold down shift, then you can add your image, add your text, add your button. Click on the container, hold down shift, then within the block you can add your image, text, button, container highlighted, hold down shift, block, image, text, button. You get the workflow now, super fast. The next one. Up until now, there wasn't any easy way to resize the structure panel, but in AT, resizable structure panel, you can set a default structure panel width, save it, reload the builder. So let's make sure it's saved. After reloading, we get a 400 width structure panel. So this can be very handy if you have a wide screen and you always want your structure panel to have a certain width. So with bricks, it is kind of like impossible to know which of these elements have styles applied. And are they styled on the ID or the class level? Do they even have a class or not? The only option you have is to click and check yourself. But advanced schema solve this problem by these, like if you enable these options under general tweaks, you can show styles and classes indicator. You can also enable highlight parent element. And now when I click on this block, I can see that for this block, it has a pink line here telling me it has styling applied on the ID level. And it's true. I had 12 pixels margin on the ID level. So you can quickly see that the button also has styling on the ID, and these are coming from here. Should we add a class like 80 rocks? Now you can also see a blue indicator here that shows that this has class applied. And the next option that we enabled was highlight parent element. Without this option enabled, if you have long structure panel, there wasn't a way to know, okay, this belongs, okay, you can visually tell. But 80 adds a quality of life improvement where anytime you select an element, it will select the parent element for you. Then it selects this parent, select this parent. This doesn't save. This is just a quality of life improvement, but it's worth mentioning. The last option in the general tweaks is the highlight nestable element. So when we reload the page and we add something like any nestable element, so nestable taps nestable, it adds this blue icon to tell you that this is a nestable element. It works with all nestable elements. So if I bring nestable menu, you see that blue icons. So this is also another quality of life improvement to the structure panel, but it doesn't end here. There's still more. Class converter, one of my favorite. Oh, let's expand this, remove some of these. And if you want automatic BEM naming conversion, we might say this is a hero, this is the container, this might be body, image, text, and a button. We can just right click, choose our class converter, give it a prefix, double underscore. I want to create a class on the element and children. If you choose element, it will just go to the element and forget the top level. But you can choose the element and children, or you can also choose the children only. So the children of whatever I've selected. This is what I have selected. I can choose all the children. So ignore this, make this hero underscore container body, or you could element and children, make this hero underscore, make this hero underscore container, make this body. We are going to right click. I'm going to choose children only. Copy ID to classes. So normally you can copy the styles from the ID and put them in the classes. I'll always enable this. Yes. Erase the ID. So whatever styling is on the ID, after I've copied it to my class or my new classes, I just want to erase it. Yes. Click on create. Then the magic happens. Now you have your hero underscore body, hero image, hero text, hero button. Like this is game changer. Really game changer. But if you're somebody who really wants to follow the BEM naming convention, this is a really handy tool. Now the next one is the style overflow. And the style overflow is really helpful. One, whatever styles we do, let's say I give it a pattern of 2 rems all around. Then my body, with the class selected, flex column, That was default. Align them center, maybe give it a gap of 2 rem. That is a column gap, row gap of 2 rem. And I want to see where the styles are applied. I can quickly come to the style overflow. Then you can see these styles are applied on the hero. I can see that on the desktop it has styles applied, but on the other breakpoints none. I can quickly delete it from here if I want to, and I can also see the CSS output. This is always my favorite. So if you are new to Bricks and you don't really understand like all these CSS or what CSS Bricks is outputting, this is a really helpful tool. You can just copy this into your code editor, then play with it. But normally you'd find it really useful and you can change it. You can change this align items from center if you know what you're doing, to flex start, and it will come to the start. So it has come here. Right click, style overflow. I can change it from to row if you know what you're doing, and it will become row. So really helpful too. And if you do changes on other breakpoint, maybe on this breakpoint I make it column, not row, centered. Wherever I'm standing in my style overview, I can see, okay, on desktop breakpoint we did flex start, on tablet portrait center, on desktop row, and you can come here and manipulate it. So really helpful. You can also do the hover state and the active state and the focus state all from here. Then you can check the code output. So desktop, tablet portrait, really handy. For the new addition, basic test, rich test, heading converter, save it, reload. And now with AT, you can right click on this, convert it to a rich test. Then you can also convert it to a heading. I won't say it's a gacha, but AT properly handles it. So if I change this from when I taste test, or when I change it to heading, the HTML tags are updated. So when I right click, change it to basic test, it becomes a paragraph. When I change it to a rich test, it becomes a div. So really handy. Where can this be useful? Let's say I want a heading and I want to maybe make this bold, and I don't know how to do it. So I can just convert it to test, check how Bricks outputs it. Really handy. There might be use cases where you want it to be span or mark. So I would use it for like the mark, and I want maybe a bigger test area to type, since the normal heading space is too small for me. I can just convert it to any of these, do whatever I want to do, or have a bigger text area space, or do whatever changes I want to do. Then when I'm done, I can just revert it back to a heading and I'd have it's working correctly. This could be strong, it could be a mark. If you're working with spans, this is really another helpful tool. Convert it to any of these, have a bigger test area, change it to span. Then you can apply styling to the span. It's really helpful when you change to rich test. Then you can get the help of this editor. What you see is what you get editor. Another quality of life improvement is the element tags. I normally use the developer mode. I'm going to save it, reload the page. Then we can have an element, so we can click on here to show the tag. I normally keep it on the developers mode, and from here you can quickly change the tag to P from the left hand side. Green means that you can change it from the drop down. Yellow means that you have to come here and manually change it to what you like. I want it to be a button. I'll leave it in a span. Then there's red icons. When it's red, it means you can't change it. So these are the color combinations. Green, you can change it from the drop down. Even you can choose custom. Then within the custom, you have to manually come and do it. But apart from custom, the ones that are here, you can easily change them from here. So the elements tag, you can show all, hide it, then play with it. So the elements tag is really useful, really speeds up the development process. So delete wrappers, move children up. With 80 installed, you are no longer afraid to delete, because when you delete it, it will go. So when you delete it like this, it won't work. Rather right click, then choose it from here. You rather choose this option instead. Deleting it would send it away, my bad. Right click, then delete, move children up. So the right way to do it is to right click, then this delete option, you rather choose this, move children up. So it will delete it and move the children up. So now when you make a mistake and you don't want something to be in a place, or it has a wrapper, you want to delete the wrapper and leave the children, that is an easy way to do it. Right click, come here, move children up, delete it, and it will move the children up. There's a lot of quality of life for the structure panel, but let's go to the top bar and enable this option. So open in a new tab and contrast checker, two of the useful ones. Reload the page again. So by enabling the contrast checker, you can just get a contrast checker to easily help you see whether your colors are working. So I put in a background on my class, background color of, let's say, this. I can easily use the contrast checker to tell me if the color is has contrast enough. It will pass because it's black, but as soon as I change the typography to something like white, and I use my contrast checker, it's highlighted it in blue, telling me, nah, it doesn't work, it won't work. But as soon as I change it to something that works, so the contrast checker is really. So I had selected it, so it was quite hard for you to see. So when I remove my mouse and I check the contrast, it will highlight it with red for me. So let's say I come back to the body, let's use maybe black. It's telling me, nah, this color won't work. So the contrast checker is really handy too. It's telling me this won't work, this you can't even see it. So if you don't want to use something like wave extension, which it matches, so contrast errors is telling you this and this they have contrast error. This is baked into AT for us, so really important. And the next one, open in a new tab. Everybody has used breaks and you know the pain. So you want to preview, then you press view on the front end to view on the front end. But with AT, you can just click view on the front end, just a single click, then you can view it on the front end. Really useful. Now classes and elements, there are so many options here. Let's go to elements. So you can enable tab shortcuts, then you can enable which tab shortcuts. So I'm going to toggle all. So this is like a game changer. You can have all your layouts. So this is layout, typography, colors. Right now when I click it, it has all the other options enabled. You can just add hide inactive style accordion. Then instead of when you click it, it will just open it. Those two combo switches. Now when I click layout, I only get layout. When I click typography, only typography. Really quality of life, like killer features. Next, your no pseudo classes, you have to come and click hover, then you style it, then you click on hover again to deactivate. AT gives us an easy way to activate pseudo elements. Then you can choose which pseudo element you want to show. So I want to show hover before all these options can be enabled. Save. And now for the wider, I can have my pseudo element all showing here. I can quickly come and click on hover and it will select the hover for me. When I'm done, I click here to let it go. Really useful. And if you have styling applied to the hover, it can also get a class indicator. So when we reach on the class indicators and we enable it, we can see all those in action. For now, let's move on. So enable Lorem Ipsum generator, disable pin icons. close all accordions. This goes with the other two, but why not? We can still show it. So now on hover, so when you come to it's normally this is enabled, or with the close all styles accordion, it's always going to be this. It's always going to be collapsed. So that is what that is meant for. Then there used to be a pin icon here. Sometimes when you're clicking, you can end up pinning it to the top. Now that option disables the pin. You can't pin these. And if you have 80, you probably be using most of these all the time. Then enable Lorem Ipsum generator. So for 80 users in the text field, you can quickly just delete this and click on add dummy. Then you'd get human readable text, and you have option to choose the English version and the normal one. So type of dummy content, human readable, or Lorem Ipsum generator. So really helpful. Let's come to the bottom here. Default custom settings. So you can set a custom settings for all your basic text. So all your basic text can be P by default. Anytime you add an image, it will have a tag of figure. Then caption will be no caption. Button will be set as buttons by default. That doesn't mean it's fixed. You can always go and override it. So if you're always developing website, you'd find it common that you'd add heading that has nothing. Let me delete this, bring a new one. So I bring in a block, basic text, it has the P already. When I bring in a button, it has the button classes. When I bring in an image, by default it will have the figure tag. If you want it to be picture, you can add your picture to it. So quality of life improvement for those who need it. You can also change the columns of the element panel. So by default, it's when you click on add, we have 2. You can make it 3, 4, and soon I learned he's bringing 1 column. So for those who need it, now it's 2, but after reload, we'll get 4. Here we are. So if 4 is what you need, but you can also change it from here from 2 to 3 to 4. So quality life improvement for those who rely on the element panel. Next is increase the text control size. So for you to properly visualize this, imagine this is the default, the text input size. And with this option enabled, increase, you'd get it wider. So this is how it looks like side by side. Small inputs, wider inputs. Next, let's just clear this. It's really hurting my eyes now. Save it. Shift arrow up, shift arrow right, shift arrow right. Save it. Next. So the next is reveal class on hover. Really useful for those with CSS variables. So when this option is checked, the icons that stand inside the class input will be hidden by default and visible when hovered or on focus. That is what it is. I'm not going to reveal it. Let's go to the next one. So the Superpower the Custom CSS control. When that option is enabled, you get a better view here. So let's supercharge it. You get things like autocomplete and stuff. Really useful for. So this is the state now, and this is what you get with the superpowers. So better background, roots. So I just bring the first one, roots, open. I have to close it myself. Then with here, when I press the left curly, it opens. When I press enter, it jumps there and closes for me. So no, this will really help you so that you don't forget to close your CSS declaration. It also is able to, so if I have variables enabled, it can auto detect variables and complete it. So let me enable my framework or custom CSS. So enable, save it, Let's just save this. And cool, 180 feature. Now 80 is telling me I have something applied in my CSS, so that is part of the class indicators, telling me, oh, I have styling applied here. Then I can see I have a class applied to the container. Yes, it's true. A class applied to the heading. Yes, it's true. I'm styling on the ID level. Yes, it's true. And this is breaks default, so I have CSS enabled. I can say color, autocomplete comes, then var what, dp action. I can start things like border what, radius, then it gives me the colon 5 rem. So supercharge, and it keeps getting better. So let me just remove this. That is for the supercharge your CSS control. If you have things like WP code box and you don't want to be going back and forth, 80 tries to help us. And there's even advanced CSS tab, which we'll come to later. But this control helps you get a better CSS experience. So this is the old one, it's the new one. I want the video to be short, so let's just skip some and go. So 1, reorder global classes alphabetically. I said now it is just how you added them. So BITH, it is not alphabetically ordered. This will alphabetically order it. Group class by log status. So for those who rely on things like other frameworks that are logged, it will group the logged one at one side and the unlogged one at one side. For us to see it better, let's intentionally group these body image, so it's logged. You can see the icon red. Then anything that doesn't have hero will group it. So 2 options: group, then save, and 1. So the group ones are 1. It is arranged alphabetical order, so from B, C, H, I. Because I didn't save it, it didn't come. So let's just group it, and intentionally go and group one of these, save it, and this time reload it again. So now you see that all the logged ones are up. B, 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 H is still alphabetical, and the ones that are unlogged are below. Really useful for those who use external frameworks. Next combo, CSS Variable Picker. If you use external frameworks, me like this, I use a framework. I just use pure CSS. So CSS Variable Picker, suggestion, autocomplete, plain classes, export IDs. These are killer features that I really have to explain. So let me just enable all. Nah, let's export ID to start. This is really useful. So if not for anything, now log styles on ID level, it will lock it. So it's telling you, okay, you're about to style on the ID level, it's logged it, so, but you can unlock it and do your styling. And if you make a mistake, so you have 2 protective measures. 1, to lock styles on ID level. If you don't want to lock it, you can just leave it unlocked. And should you style on the ID level, you can export ID to class. So I can intentionally style on the ID level to rem, make it on all sides. Then my typography color, this. So let's rather background color, something that makes sense. Cool. Then I've done styling on the ID. Now we are seeing that we have styles here. It is super cool. I've styled on the ID level, but I want to send them to a class. I forgot to add a class. I can just export the styles to class, then type my hero _ section here. Shift, you can just press save, or this save button, or you use shift enter, which comes with advanced thema, then it exports it to the, so now there's nothing on the ID level. If you find this annoying, you can disable it, but that is the feature of export ID styles to classes. Now the next thing that goes with it is to clone classes. So with that option enabled, save. After you've exported, you can also clone it to other variants. So I can say I want to have another version of the section, so I can just click clone, then it adds new. I can modify it and say style 2, shift enter. Then I could have the style 2 version, so the hero section is there, everything from the hero section is copied like cloned to the hero section style 2. Then I can come to the style 2, just change my background to something like this, dark, and when I duplicate it, I have my style 1, and style 2. So I have my hero section, so hero double_ section, this type, then the style 2. So that is the clone class feature, really handy. Copy class to clipboard. Up until now, there wasn't any easy way to copy class, so you just have to click on this rename, select it, copy it. That was the manual route. But with AT's copy class to clipboard option enabled, you select it, click on the copy class to clipboard, then you can do whatever you want to do with it. So probably I want to style section, come into the class, then I can see I want to target the hero. I'm just going to add my full stop, so root, target the hero container, then maybe give it a background color, auto suggestion from AT. So this hero section, target the descendant, that is a hero container, give it a background color of red. So that is an important feature. Copy class to clipboard. Still on the classes, highlight classes, save, reload. Let's clean some of these. So let's go back here to section, remove this declaration out, close it, that is gone. I have a heading. Let me make it make sense. So hero, we don't have any heading, so we can just create it. Two options. We have a T container heading. We can just say, we can use class converter to get the hero double_ children only. Yep. Then we have a hero heading, hero container now. Cool. So hero heading, then we'll add the basic text. So we had one before, hero test. I'm just going to duplicate it, then highlight class. When I select basic text, save. Cool. So with this option, highlight classes, when I enable the hero test, it is telling me, okay, there are two places on my canvas that share the same style, the same with the, so you have a blue outline telling you these two elements share the same. You get it on the canvas and you still get it here. When I come here, you get it on the canvas and you still get it on the structure panel. Really cool, really helpful. Another helpful feature is the plain classes. I really use this all the time. So imagine I want to give maybe this, but so many classes. All I have to do is come here, then I'd say I wanted to have imaginary text, enter. Then I wanted to have button. That's because I don't want to type so many things. So I wanted to have all these classes. With the plain class enabled, I can easily get this P. Then I can remove it simply by just removing it, or I can add. So I wanted to have button and auto suggestion, then hero, then auto suggestion plain class. So imagine you're using Tailwind or something like that. ACSS Tailwind will do, since they don't have any builder integration. You can just use the plain class features to easily add classes, and it will work. So I declared hero text twice. I can just bring in test, update, then test come. Then I can just go back to the plain classes, remove these, and they are gone. Really useful. Breakpoint indicator. Cool. So after reloading, I have a basic test. Now this is the breakpoint indicator telling me on desktop I have styling applied. Then I have a heading. When my class is enabled, AT can tell me, okay, on desktop I have this declaration, and on portrait, tablet portrait, I have another declaration. So now when we start putting all AT's features together, you can easily tell where stylings are applied. So right when you just click on any element and you have the class enabled. Without the class enabled, AT can tell you it has IDs or not. With the class enabled, it can tell you exactly where the classes are applied and even which breakpoints are applied. So adding these AT options can really change the way you build websites. Still on breakpoints, we can have the style indicator in the media query panel. Save. On the heading with the hero enabled, not only can AT tell you that it has class enabled on a desktop and a tablet portrait, but it also gives you style indicators here. Super powerful and handy. When you select the basic test with a, so it's telling us that it has no styling applied on the ID level, but on the class, we have styling applied on the desktop breakpoint. We can go to the mobile breakpoint and change it to something else, and AT will be smart to show it to the next user. So somebody comes along the way, and right from selecting this, the person can tell, okay, this same class is applied to this, and all the hero text have styles applied on the typography and in which breakpoints, tablet and mobile portrait. And you can even see the class indicator. Add them together and wow, this is game changing for breaks. Some are self-explanatory. So you have a CSS variable picker. You have color preview on hover, class preview on hover. You can count the classes and show them on the navigation. Indicator of autocomplete, suggestion, CSS. Let me just add them all together and blow your mind. Trust me, AT is really dope. Really dope. So let's start. I could come to my hero, and because the hero is locked, AT's fields are locked. I can unlock it. Then now I can style. Next, in order for us to see the variables, let me just enable typography, so at least we can have some variable picker. So I have enabled AT's typography. I normally use custom variables, but I've not imported it yet. So I'm going to use AT's for this demonstration. Cool. So now when I come to the heading, come to typography, there's a variable picker option here. I can choose one, and this is where builder tweak, class preview on hover. So on hover, I can preview and see what variables or what the variable will look like. When you're using AT's built-in CSS variable, you get a tooltip. So if you enable AT's colors, by coming to color palettes, I normally use another option. You should get color options for the color, but I use something else. When you are typing font, you get suggestion. You can hover, so suggestion drop down, first one. You can also hover it, so autocomplete suggestion on hover. So when I hover it, it will autocomplete it. So as soon as I hover, it's autocompleted for me. That is what this option is for: autocomplete suggestion on hover, suggestion drop down, and these are the two So CSS variable picker, you can get this variable picker. You can just click here. Suggestion drop down for those who like typing. So font H, so font H1. This is coming from my variable, and it's not only 80. This DP are from my custom variables. It's also working. I can come here to raw and say DP word action, and it will auto complete it for me when I hover. These are coming from my custom framework or custom CSS. So in my framework, DP font sizes, my workflow colors, my primary colors, all is coming into 80 through this option. So I can just import them properly and use the variable picker, or I can type them. Cool. So CSS variable checked, suggestions drop down checked, autocomplete suggestions on hover checked, color preview. When you preview the color, it's you can just see it apply. When you preview classes, you can see it apply. So if the styling inside, when I preview, it applies. That is color preview on hover, class preview on hover. Style indicator, we've done that. Indicator, let me skip that and go to this game changer. So this is really new feature. Cool. So with auto format your control values, it brings these options. The first one I'm going to talk about is the clamp. So you can now do clamps easily. So the minimum value, then followed by this pipe sign, then the maximum value, then press enter. So not enter, but tap or click away, then you get a clamp. So from that to that, you can also add multiple values. So when you click on this, it says we can have something like, let me use this to explain. So 12 pipe sign 32 minimum, then a maximum of 32 pixels. It will be converted to rems. Then you can add the third and fourth. So on which breakpoint? At breakpoints 320, then what's the maximum breakpoint? At 1200. I like using breaks, so 1100. So that's what it is. The minimum followed by the maximum, followed by the minimum breakpoint, followed by the maximum breakpoint. Click away and you have a clamp function, fully functional. Then calc, font H1. So I have my DP font H6. I can just multiply by 2, click away, and it will calc it for me. So the best way to understand it, this is how I normally use it. So let's say I do font S, then there's a suggestion here. Then I just multiply, so space, then asterisk 2. When I click away, it will add the calc function for me. Easier example, 2 star. It accepts all operations. So it accepts the multiplication, the division, the subtraction, the addition. So all the operations signs. So you can just do 12 times 2, click away, you get that. You can also do variables. So font S, then your font S multiplied by 2 to add a calc for you. Really super, really helpful. So another one that I want to tap is the pixel to rem. Like, you don't have to suffer. You just type R colon by 32, then click away, you get 3.2. Now this is based on settings, team settings. I don't have any settings. Let's just create one quickly. So I click on create, YouTube create. Then I come to my typography. HTML font is set to 62.5. So this is equal to 10 pixels. So this is where the calculation is coming from. If you change this to 100%, then all the calculation will now be based on that. So let's come back here. Then when I say rem and I say 3.2, or 24 pixels, it will give me 1.5 rem. That same thing when you leave it in a default, you come back to typography and you type 24. Remember, arrow colon 24 is 2.4. So if it is 16 or the root is 100%, it is 16 pixels. So 24 will be 1.5 rem. But when your root is 62.5, which is equal to 10 pixels, then 24 will be equal to 2.4 rem. So there's rem, pixel to rem converter. Close variables, so automatically close it when we are typing, let's say font S over dp font S, and it will automatically close it for me. But if you're using things like suggestion font S coming from my custom utility, it is really powerful because, excuse me, sorry, for me to just have a custom CSS, just these are tokens, and AT is able to load all these. I can have my section padding inline block, like AT is super powerful. The CSS suggestions, the color picker, the pickers, like it's really it blows my mind. It blows my mind. I wanted this to be long, I wanted this to be short, but it seems we've crossed the 45-minute mark. So this is just introduction, and we just played with the builder tweak. Like, you can just find more about AT from Advanced Thema, and I'll leave a link to Maxine's YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description. I learned all I knew. Like, at the moment, this is your best option to, like, he goes through every feature step by step on his channel. So I'll leave a link, this link in the description. You can follow Advanced Thema's YouTube channel and know more. See you on the next one. Bye.